When my best friend walked into our dorm room that day, something happened I'll never forget. There's this strange illusion you get when you're alone in a dorm, that fragile little bubble of privacy. The soft hum of silence tricks you into thinking, even just for a moment, that the whole world outside doesn't exist. That this tiny room belongs entirely to you, but that's the trap, especially when your roommate is someone like Milan. Milan never knocked, never texted. He just appeared like the walls themselves had called him in. We'd been roommates since freshman year and friends even before that. I knew his habits, his routines, or at least I thought I did. That Tuesday started out like any other. A dull lecture, a long lab, aimless wandering around campus. Milan had said he'd be gone for the night. Some study group for an exam he'd finally decided to take seriously. When he left, backpack slung over one shoulder, he tossed out a casual, "Don't wait up." I didn't think much of it, so I did what anyone would do with a rare empty dorm. I got comfortable. Really comfortable. Clothes off, lights low, music soft. Nothing weird, just that rare, peaceful moment when your skin touches cool sheets and you finally breathe like the space is yours again. It felt like freedom. My freedom. I sprawled out on my bed, phone in hand, scrolling through memes and playlists, completely at ease in that quiet only true solitude gives you. The door was locked, or so I thought. I heard faint laughter echoing from the hallway, muffled by the fan's steady hum. I didn't even look up. Why would I? No one was supposed to come in. Then came the sound. The faint rattle of keys. The soft click of a lock turning. I froze, confused, thinking it was someone next door. But then the handle turned. My handle. And the door swung open. Light from the hallway flooded in, cutting straight through the dimness. Milan stepped in mid-sentence, grinning about something, until he saw me. For one endless second, everything stopped. I sat up in shock, completely exposed. My heart slammed in my chest. He froze too, mouth half open, caught between confusion and disbelief. It felt like time had shattered, like we both knew we'd never be able to unsee this. "Oh," he muttered, stepping back, blinking fast. I grabbed the blanket, fumbling, heart racing, finally yanking it up to my chest. "You said you'd be gone all night." "It got canceled," he stammered, voice awkwardly quiet. "The study group." "I texted you." "My phone's on Do Not Disturb," I said sharply, still trying to catch my breath. The silence that followed was unbearable, heavy, almost suffocating. He closed the door slowly, quietly, like he didn't want the world outside to know what just happened. Then he leaned back against it, eyes on the floor, arms crossed. Neither of us spoke. For the first time in years of friendship, I didn't know what to say to him. He finally broke the silence. "Guess I should start knocking." A weak, nervous laugh slipped out of me before I could stop it. "Yeah, that'd be nice." He nodded, embarrassed but sincere. "Sorry, man. It's fine," I said softly, though my pulse still hadn't calmed. "Just next time, text first." He gave a small, guilty smile and turned to leave, closing the door behind him. And as the room went quiet again, I sat there, blanket tight around me, realizing something simple but true. Privacy isn't just about being alone. It's about trust, and sometimes it takes one awkward, unforgettable moment to remember that even your closest friends can cross a line without meaning to. I sat there wrapped tight in the blanket, breathing hard like I'd just finished a sprint. I didn't expect. Milan started, then cut himself off. "What? That I'd be naked?" I shot back, raising an eyebrow. His hand went straight to the back of his neck, his cheeks turning a deeper red than I'd ever seen. "I mean, yeah, that broke us." We both started laughing. Shaky, nervous, awkward laughter, but it was enough to snap the tension. The ridiculousness of it all finally hit. Milan edged a little closer, still cautious, like he half expected me to throw something at him. "Look, man, I didn't mean to. I should have knocked." "Yeah, you really should have," I muttered, still gripping the blanket, though my voice had softened. I was finally starting to relax. He dropped onto his bed across from mine. "You always do this when I'm gone?" he asked, half joking. "Only when you swear you'll be out for hours," I shot back. "It's my room too, you know." He nodded slowly, hands resting on his knees. "Right. Makes sense. I just didn't expect to walk in on a full moon." I gave him my best glare, though a smile slipped through anyway. You done? He shrugged. I don't know. Should I be worried I'll walk in on this again? Not a chance. I'm deadbolting the door from now on. Probably smart, he said with a crooked grin. Then his tone shifted quieter. Hey, I really didn't mean to embarrass you. Something in the way he said it stopped me. No teasing, no smirk, just genuine, steady regret. His voice was softer than usual, careful. I'm fine, I said quietly. Really? Yeah, just… Caught off guard, he nodded. Yeah, me too. But somehow it didn't feel like he was just talking about walking in. There was something heavier in the air, something unspoken. And that's when it hit me. Maybe it wasn't only embarrassment I was feeling. Maybe, in some strange way, part of me didn't mind being seen. But I wasn't ready to unpack that. Not yet. Anyway, I said quickly, shifting under the blanket, forcing the air to move again. Next time you change plans, maybe actually text me. Milan smiled, but there was something different in his eyes now. Something I couldn't quite read. Yeah, he said softly. Next time, but he didn't move. Didn't grab his books. Didn't pretend we could just rewind. He just stayed there, elbows on his knees, stealing quick glances at me when he thought I wasn't looking. And me, I stayed still, clutching the blanket like it could shield me from whatever had shifted between us. Because deep down, I knew it wasn't just being seen that had rattled me. It was the way he looked at me. Really looked. There had been something in his eyes the moment he walked in, before the apology, before the shock. Something raw, unfiltered. It burned in my chest even now. Finally, he broke the silence. I mean, it's not like I haven't seen you shirtless before. Yeah, I said dryly. Big difference between shirtless and completely naked. He chuckled, but it wasn't teasing. Not amused, more thoughtful. True, still. It's not like I'm traumatized. I'd hope not, I said, rolling my eyes. Then his gaze locked on mine. Steady, serious. You looked comfortable. That word lingered between us. Comfortable. It shouldn't have meant much. But the way he said it, soft, deliberate, twisted something inside me. I guess I was, I admitted carefully. Didn't think I'd be interrupted. He nodded slowly. You usually that comfortable? Just letting go like that? The question caught me off guard. It wasn't mocking or weird. Just honest, curious. I don't know, I said after a pause. Sometimes it just feels good. No expectations. No pretending. Milan leaned back on his hands, face unreadable but open. Yeah, he said quietly. I get that. I studied him then. Really studied him. Wondering what exactly he meant. Because if I was honest, there had been something in his eyes when he first walked in. Something raw that made my chest ache, but I couldn't ask him about it. Not yet. Maybe not ever, so instead I forced a smirk, trying to lighten the mood. Well, I said, running a hand through my hair like I was calm, even though my chest was still tight. I guess we've reached a new level of roommate bonding. Congrats! You've officially seen everything. Milan's lips curved into that familiar, mischievous grin. Yeah, I'm definitely putting that on my resume. Survived full frontal dorm surprise. I laughed despite myself. The humor was thin, though. Like a blanket draped over something heavier neither of us dared name. Then his expression softened again. His voice dropped lower. I didn't mean to make it weird. You didn't, I said too quickly. Then realizing how sharp it sounded, added, I mean, it was weird, but not because of you. His eyebrows lifted just enough to show he'd caught the shift in my tone. You sure? I hesitated, staring up at the ceiling. Yeah, I said finally. I'm sure. But deep down, I wasn't, because something had changed. Quiet, invisible, but undeniable. And no amount of laughter or sarcasm could take us back to what we were before that door opened. I stared up at the ceiling, tracing the cracks like they held answers. Yeah, I don't know, I murmured. Maybe I'm just tired. A pause. Then his voice, quiet but steady. You're not the only one who gets tired. Something in the way he said it made the room shift. His tone wasn't casual. It carried weight, honesty. Sometimes, he continued, I feel like I'm always trying to keep up with this version of myself. Like I'm supposed to be the confident one who always has it together. And if I slip, if I show anything else, people start asking questions. Just like that, the air changed. He wasn't joking anymore. And I knew, deep down, we were standing on the edge of something neither of us could easily walk back from. I turned to look at him, really look at him, and there was something in his expression I'd never seen before. Milan didn't talk like this. If something bothered him, he drowned it in jokes or caffeine. But now he was peeling something open, revealing a part of himself he'd kept buried. People ask questions, I said carefully. About you? Sometimes, he admitted. Not directly. But you know how it is, guys don't talk about this stuff. Especially not roommates. The room suddenly felt smaller, the space between us tighter. Even though neither of us moved, it was like the air itself was closing in. Our eyes met, a single, unbroken glance that lasted a beat too long. The silence wasn't awkward anymore. It was full, alive, charged with something unspoken. I swallowed hard. I should probably get dressed, I said quietly. Probably, he said. But his voice was soft, thoughtful. Neither of us looked away, and for the first time I realized this moment wasn't about embarrassment anymore. It was about what came after. The kind of honesty you can't unhear once it's spoken. He leaned back against the wall, arms folded behind his head like he was trying to seem calm. But his eyes betrayed him, restless, searching. You ever think about the stuff we don't say? He asked suddenly. I blinked. What do you mean? Like, how the things we don't say sometimes matter more than the ones we do. How we dance around something real just because we're afraid of it. His words landed like sparks on dry ground. Are we talking about the same thing? I asked quietly. He gave a small shrug, not casual this time, but careful. I don't know, are we? I studied him, past the grin, past the front he always wore. There was something waiting underneath, hesitant, uncertain, but not unwilling. I think, I said slowly, if we are talking about the same thing, maybe we shouldn't stop now. It wasn't a confession. Not exactly. But it was something close. An invitation to stop pretending. Milan didn't answer right away. He just held my gaze, his expression unreadable, before finally giving a small nod. Okay, he said, but it wasn't casual. It was steady. Real. Like a step forward that neither of us could take back. The silence that followed wrapped around us, fragile but full. One wrong word could have shattered it. My heart thudded against my ribs. I didn't know what to say, but I knew the moment mattered. So, I asked, voice low, are we actually talking about this? Or just circling around it because we're scared to land? He exhaled, maybe a laugh, maybe not. Maybe both, he said, his voice stripped of its usual bravado. It was raw, honest, vulnerable, and when he looked at me, really looked, it felt like the air between us held every question we'd both been too afraid to ask. He began, then stopped. I didn't mean for today to happen the way it did, but I can't pretend it didn't change something. Yeah, I said softly. Me neither. He nodded, his gaze falling for a second before finding mine again. Seeing you like that, it wasn't just surprise. It made me realize how much we hide from each other. How rarely we let ourselves just be. I felt something loosen in my chest. Is that bad? I asked. He shook his head slowly. No, just rare. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, almost in a whisper, he said, You ever feel like we've both been avoiding something? Maybe, I admitted. Maybe we still are. His eyes flickered, thoughtful, searching. Every time I laugh too hard at your jokes, he said. Or catch myself watching you when you're not looking. Yeah, I think I've noticed. My breath caught. I don't know what it means, he added quietly. I just know it's real, I nodded slowly. So, what do we do? I don't know, he said again. I just don't want to keep pretending. My pulse was loud in my ears. Me neither. He gave a small, almost uncertain smile. Then maybe that's a start. We sat there, two friends who suddenly weren't just friends. Two people trying to make sense of a moment that didn't need to be labeled yet. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was full of everything we hadn't said, everything we were still afraid to. And in that quiet, something fragile but undeniable took root. Not a confession, not yet, but the beginning of honesty. The air between us pulsed, quiet but alive, like static before a storm. His hand brushed against mine, slow and uncertain, yet deliberate enough to send my heart racing. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It felt expectant, like the whole room was holding its breath. When I met his gaze, the look in Milan's eyes wasn't playful or teasing. It was searching, a quiet plea for honesty. My hand stayed in his, and something in him eased, a faint, almost disbelieving smile tugging at his lips. "I don't know what happens if we do this," he said softly, "but I know I'll never forget it if we don't." The truth of that hit deep. We'd both lived so long behind unspoken feelings that hearing honesty felt dangerous and freeing. I shifted closer, close enough to feel the warmth between us blur the lines we'd always drawn. "Have you ever thought about it before?" I whispered. "Not just tonight, I mean, us." He hesitated, not because he was unsure, but because his words mattered. "Yeah," he admitted. "Not in a straight line. Not like I suddenly knew who I was, just you. You were the exception I couldn't ignore." His words sank into me, unraveling something I'd kept hidden for years. My voice trembled. "You're not just figuring things out, right? I can't be something temporary." Milan squeezed my hand, firm, steady. "No," he said. "This isn't curiosity. It's clarity. I don't have every answer, but I know this. I'm done pretending I don't feel what I feel." For a moment, all I could do was breathe him in. His steadiness, his fear, his truth. Then our knees touched, and the contact sent a quiet shock through me. "You're shaking," he said gently. "So are you," I whispered. We both laughed, soft and nervous, the kind of laugh that holds you together when words can't. Then, as the laughter faded, he reached up, hesitantly brushing his fingers along my jaw. The touch was light, reverent, a question, not a claim. I leaned into it, answering without words. His thumb lingered against my cheek, his eyes locked on mine. The world around us seemed to fall away, leaving only that fragile, electric quiet. "I keep thinking," he said, his voice rough, "that if I kiss you, everything will change." "It already has," I whispered back. "You just haven't realized it yet." Something in him broke open then. Or maybe it finally healed. He leaned in, close enough that I could feel his breath, smell his shampoo, sense the tremor in his chest. We didn't rush. We didn't need to. When our lips finally met, it was slow, a promise, not a question. The world didn't explode. It softened. It stilled. Everything that had been tense between us, years of restraint, denial, unspoken longing, melted into something simple, honest and unbearably human. When he pulled back, our foreheads rested together, breaths mingling in the quiet. "Tell me if you want me to stop," he murmured. "I don't," I said, not like a confession, but like the truth it was. He smiled, faint and full of relief, and in that moment, I realized this wasn't about desire. It was about finally being seen, about the peace that comes when you stop hiding from yourself. Hours later, dawn crept through the blinds, tracing soft gold across his face. He stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Hey," he whispered. "Hey!" He reached for me instinctively, arm sliding around my waist like it belonged there. "What time is it?" he mumbled. "No idea," I said, smiling. "Don't care." He laughed quietly, the sound warm and real. We lay there, the weight of what had happened settling gently instead of crashing down. No panic, no regret, just the quiet certainty that something had changed. Not broken, but realigned. "I meant everything I said last night," Milan murmured. None of it was just in the moment. My chest tightened. "Yeah," I said. "Me too," he nodded. "We'll figure it out, whatever this is." And somehow that was enough. We weren't just best friends anymore. We weren't even sure what we were. But for once, the uncertainty didn't feel like fear. It felt like beginning, raw, real, and entirely ours.